course, idea generation. We've talked about how the big thing in content is we are going to produce content about our buyers' interests, not about our own product. So what you want to do is have a big, wide funnel of inputs of people coming in who are that voice of the customer, who are that voice of the buyer, who are constantly saying, well, our buyers are worried about this. These are buyers' challenges. These are our buyers' problems. So who's involved there? First off, your buyers, your customers. You want to involve them in the process, and we'll talk about how that gets involved. You want to, though, dig into your wider organization, and Jesse was talking about this, about mining into your organization. We typically talk about sales, service, and support. These are the teams that are on the front lines interacting with your buyer, so or your customers. So someone in support, could be, I just had this call with this customer, and they're having this big issue. It's not really about our product per se, but just a challenge. You need to have a process in place to get that idea from that support rep into your content marketing team, so that can become a potential piece of content that you produce. So they're involved. Subject matter experts are involved. Jesse was talking about that, how you want to mine deep into that expertise in your organization. And also your social team is involved, because that's a great place to hear the voice of the customer, is out on social, and you guys have social listening teams. Again, most of you will have these folks, you're not recreating the wheel, you just need to let them know, hey, we're doing this content marketing thing now, you guys are out there listening on the social web. When you hear nuggets about what our buyer is interested in, please send them into our managing editor so they can process them. So that's upstream. Who's involved in the next step? So the next step is content production and approval. So you have some internal team, and these are the people that are actually writing the content, shooting the videos, developing the content assets. Who are these people? Well, all of us in marketing, we've been producing content for quite some time, so that could be a big core part of your team. And out into product marketing and marketing communications has been doing it for a while. So you want to involve those people. And then you can have big thought leaders from different areas of your organization. You want to involve all of them. But you're probably going to supplement it in some way with some external contributors. So you might just get a bank of freelance writers who have some expertise in your domain who can contribute. And the more that you get into multimedia content like infographics and video, you're going to lean on agencies that can produce this kind of stuff. So there'll be external people contributing here. But the key role is the role of the managing editor. Content marketing, again, is really different than what we've ever done before as marketers in terms of the volume of content. We might have done one white paper a month back in ye olden days. Now we got to be doing like a blog post every day, and that blog post is a piece of this ebook, and it's got videos, and we're doing infographic, and we're posting in social. There's just a huge volume of content going through this operation, and the content is so focused on delighting and entertaining and attracting the attention of our audience as opposed to pitching our product. That's really different. So you can try to develop that in-house, but I would really recommend, and I gave you my secret tip of going to your publication for your segment, but of hiring a journalist, because all that stuff that I talked about, that's what they've been doing their whole career. That's what Jesse has been doing, or Ann has been doing. And so that's a key role, because that person sits at the middle of this operation, and they're bringing in the ideas and processing those and responding to those people. They're managing the editorial calendar and making sure all the content's being produced on time. They are pushing that content downstream to the internal customers who are going to utilize it, and they're gathering the metrics to make sure all this thing is working. So this could be the one role where it might be a new person. Even if it's an existing person, it's got to be a full-time job, right? You're going to have lots of people involved here who are kind of contributing as part of what they do, but this job needs to be dedicated. If you want to be serious about content marketing, you need a full-time managing editor. And then downstream, once the content produced, you're going to have people that are going to use it. So you're going to use it at the top of the funnel to drive traffic to your site and get people engaged. You already have your social team, you already have your web or SEO team, and they're going to use all those assets. Middle of the funnel, you're going to use content to nurture your leads and bring leads along and execute on demand gen campaigns. This is your existing marketing automation demand gen team, so you just need to plug in with them. And then bottom of the funnel, your salespeople are going to become much more effective thought leaders and close a lot more business if they're armed with quality content. So you need to plug in with your sales enablement team. So this is just a look over of the process and the people involved, and hopefully that paints a picture for you that it's not this radical reorganization. It's assets and people that you already have that are slightly tweaked to make it all work better. Strategic structure, and this is where I'm going to start stealing from Jesse because I thought he said it so well. So people come and say, okay, so I'm going to do this content marketing thing. What in the world are we going to write about? How are we going to write about content that's both compelling but somehow leads to a sale some way? How does that all work? And what is the concept that then is going to organize all of our efforts and give us strategy and structure? We like to think about defining your sweet spot. So we want to start with the buyer's interests. That's where we have to start, right? We can't shortcut it anymore where we're just plugging our product. We need to earn the attention of our buyers by finding out what they're interested in and mapping that out. And then we want to think about what does our brand know about? And what's our brand's expertise? And I love Jesse's statement, behind every problem there's a solution, right? So we're used to talking about our solution, but our solution is solving a problem. And we have expertise not only in our solution, but in the set of problems that our solution solves. And it's this, and then we find that convergence of that area of interest. So I'm going to use Talia, who's going to speak later today from Cengage, as an example. They are a textbook educational materials company. And at textbook season, all their buyers who are educators get all into Cengage and get interested in buying, but they want to have more of a year-round relationship where they're constantly engaged. So they said to themselves, what is our buyer's interests and what can we do? And it's only textbooks at one point in time, but we want to engage them, develop the relationship, earn their respect, build their trust. And so then they realized, yes, we have solutions in our textbooks, but we also have incredible knowledge of their problems. Right? We know, we've been doing this for a long time. We know, best practices around classroom management for educators. Or we know we can talk to chemistry teachers about how they can teach the periodic table. We've been doing this for decades. So let's mine out this knowledge that we have that isn't about our solution and isn't about our buying, but let's just start broadcasting that. Let's just start giving away that knowledge for free. This is where we can all focus, and this is where we should place our emphasis. So we all need to go that, and I think Jesse said it well too, but when we're thinking, okay, where do we go? It's not our solution, it's the problems behind it. We actually have a ton of knowledge about those problems. We just need to start giving away that knowledge in a free and really compelling way in order to earn our buyers' attention. And then you guys have probably all seen this because a lot of you are marketing automation customers and you know this best practice. So you take, but then so you've done that exercise of finding the sweet spot. And then you want to map out, because the sweet spot's going to be different persona by persona, right? A certain, we all have different personas amongst our buyers, people that are involved in the purchase process. Most of you guys are big B2B companies. So someone's sweet spot is going to be different than another word. Like for Talia, chemistry professor is different than an elementary school teacher, for example. But it varies for all of you. So you need to then map this out persona by persona, so you're really digging into the interest of each one of those personas, and then how those interests change as they move through the buying process. At the top of the funnel, they couldn't care less about our product. So when you start mapping out their interests and the questions they have and the content that you're going to have to respond to that, at that top row, if you're mentioning your product, you're probably doing something wrong. But then as they start moving down the funnel, you can start to, their interests are changed, their digital body language is indicating that they have some purchase interest and purchase intent. And that's when your content can start to switch and more mention your own product, case studies, testimonials, and bring those into the mix. So that's the best structure and the best way of going about organizing your overall content marketing strategy. Then we got to think about ideas, because a lot of content marketers are like, okay, here we go, we're rolling, and what are we going to write about? And they're just thinking that poofs of ideas are going to appear over their head on a daily basis, and that's not going to work. You have to be deliberate about it, and you need to set up a structure. So I referenced some of these in talking about team, but let me review them here. So again, the key thing about ideas is we need to learn what keeps our buyers up at night. What are their challenges? What are the issues that they're facing? These are like gold to us if we can capture these. So we need to have ways to gather all of these ideas, all these customer pain points, and a process set up. So one is internally. I talked about having sales and service and support. These guys are talking to our buyers every day and our customers every day. So they are a great, their ears and eyes are great sources for us. You just need to establish a process, particularly if you're in a big organization, where you come to them and say, okay, sales team, service team, account management team, we're doing content marketing now. This is going to be awesome for all of us. It's going to rev up revenue. It's going to improve retention. It's going to be fantastic. We got this core team, our content marketing team. They need to know about customer pain points and customer challenges. Here's our process. Go to this web page, submit this form, or send us this email. Have a process where you're responding back to them saying, thank you, we're going to use this. No, this didn't fit. Here's why. But if you set up a structure, and we've seen this with a lot of our customers, then those ideas start flowing, and you're not sitting there scratching your head being like, what content are we going to produce? You have that source and flowing in. You just need to set up a structure around it. Social listening, of course, and I mentioned this before, but our buyers, our customers are talking on the social web. They're identifying their problems all the time, whether it's on Twitter or it's on LinkedIn or any of the social networks. You all probably all have listening teams. Just let them know. We're going big on content marketing now, people. So when you hear about a great question in your listening efforts, bring that in. Here's the process. Let us know, because we need these. We'll talk, and Rob's going to talk specifically about the importance of influencers. When you are publishing your content, and so a lot of people, they're like, okay, we're a publisher now, here we go, and here's our blog posts, and we've done 10 now, and there's still tumbleweeds going by the blog post. I'm like, how do we get people to come? So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about this afternoon, and Rob's going to focus on. But key to that are influencers. These are the people, and whatever your topic are, they got the traffic. They got a lot of Twitter followers. They got a lot of people going to their website. Your steps in terms of getting some of that traffic are to earn links from them to you. It's that simple. And so you need to identify those people, but you need to be monitoring them, because you want to get involved with the conversation that they're leading. So you need to have your social team particularly focused and be very deliberate about it. And Rob will talk to you about it. Okay, here's the top influencers in our segment, and we're ranking them by the number of followers they have, or clout score, or whatever it is that you want to do. These are the people we're going after. What are they talking about? How can we get involved in their conversation? So that's a big source. Is there a question there? No, we're good? And then the last one is just go talk to your buyer and make it very clear. This is not a sales pitch. I'm part of the content marketing team, Mrs. Buyer, and I'm here to just talk to you about what keeps you up at night? What are your biggest business challenges? If there were 5 things that you could be more informed about so that you could do your job better, what would those be? And go down, sit down with them in person. Do it at your big annual conference. Could be a great opportunity to sit down and have these surveys. Do more of an automated survey on the web. There's many approaches, but don't be bashful. Go ask these people. And that'll be a great source of information in terms of what content you should be creating. Last section is planning. So we've got our team. We've got our strategic structure. The ideas are starting to flow in, but then people are saying, how am I going to, I want to be a real publication now. I want to be a destination and I have an audience that's coming to regularly. I need to publish with some frequency. How am I going to plan all this out? And can I really do this? We don't have a ton of people here. And can I really publish, 3-4 times a day? And how do I organize it? How can it all work? There's lots of approaches here, but I'm going to talk to you about a specific best practice that we use, I think Eloqua has used, and a lot of content marketers, I think, use to make it all work. You have your sources of ideas. We've talked about them. The ideas are floating in. Little ideas and big ideas. What you want to be scouting for are ways, you want to be looking for the big piece. That's the key thing. You want to do the big piece. Traditionally, we call them white papers. I think those are technical and very product promoting. I think the term now is more ebook. You want to be looking, what can I write ebooks about? And I'll tell you why. So either those big ideas that can become ebooks, or maybe you've written 3 or 4 blog posts about a theme and you're saying, I see a trend here. Maybe we could put it all together and it could be a big ebook. And let me tell you why. Because ebooks are the pillars of content marketing. And they are because when you create one ebook, it's the gift that just keeps on giving and giving and giving. So people talk a lot in content marketing about content reuse. I think this is how you do it. So you create a big pillar ebook, like this one, like the comic book that we did. So when we did this, we interviewed, I put 4 here. And we interviewed like 9 or 10 people. Because here's the practice. You want to do an ebook that's like, here's what I think of the set of best practices around this issue for you. But you don't want to just be like, take my word on it. I want to get other people's perspectives on this. So talk to your customers, talk to the influencers, other industry thought leaders, interview them, and put a camera in front of them. Larry's done this for us actually before, our cameraman today. We can all do video now. It's really reasonable. But put a camera in front of them while you're interviewing them, so then in the process of getting their input for your ebook, you're going to produce a bunch of videos. Then when you're also making the ebook, you're going to have snazzy graphics like these. Pull that out, that becomes an infographic or 2. We have a whole comic strip that we're going to publish out of this thing. Then, in what you're talking about in your ebook, hopefully it makes enough sense that it can become a presentation that your team can use when there are events like this to talk about. That presentation you could put on SlideShare. Then take that presentation and give a webinar or 2 about it. Take the webinar video, slice that up into a number of videos, and then republish those. I think you're getting the idea, but from this one pillar of best practices that you do, you've created a ton of different content assets. The ebook itself you can slice and dice into tons of different pieces. It's all about telling that story and that set of best practices, but then giving it from different perspectives and different angles. And here's this thought leader's take on this theme that we're giving, and reusing it. And then, of course, it turns into material for your emails and for your landing pages. You can create entire broad campaigns about this. It also fills up your social, every one of these blog posts that you produce. Your social isn't just like, look at these pretty kittens. You're actually talking about something very substantive that can really help your buyer. And so it fills up your social program. All in all, and I think this is conservative, but from this one ebook, we're talking about 18 different slots in our calendar that have been filled. And I think it can be a lot more than that. And then when you carry that out and look at it on an annualized basis, it takes, and we'll probably do 4 or 5 big campaigns this year, and we publish 4 or 5 times a week. We publish really regularly in our internal content marketing, but it's all done from thinking, what are these big themes that we're going to attack with real publications, with real assets of significance, and then how are we going to take that big asset and slice and dice it into videos and blog posts and presentations, and then publish all of those. And the great thing about this, too, is when you slice and dice it and create all this derivative content, you're giving a taste, and you're giving a teaser to the buyer, and the call to action at every taste and every blog post that shows potentially an excerpt of that ebook is like, did you like this little excerpt? It's part of this bigger ebook. Click here to go download it. So every time you use this method of creating these big pillar assets, these derivative works are then all kind of lead gen bait. And I know Dave likes to talk about bait. And what is it again? Churn? No, chum. He'll talk to you about chum. But it's good bait to bring in potential leads. So that is my chat on those 4 pieces in terms of getting a team together, the strategic structure, having a process to produce ideas, and then having a process around planning out your calendar. Are there any questions about those?
Hi, my name is Andy Reskin. I'm one of these people. I was a managing editor at Time and freelance writer for a long time. Now I'm a product marketer. I work for Skype and a company called Mashery. I have a question about team and process. So three big things I noticed different between publishing world and kind of marketing world. One is bullet points, Jesse mentioned. Capitals, everything's capitals. But the bigger one is around the chain of command. So in a magazine or a newspaper, it's very, very clear. You know, as a managing editor, I trump the senior editor who trumps the writer, and the editor-in-chief can trump us all. In a more corporate marketing organization, how have you seen it successful? So one question is, you know, who is the editor-in-chief? Is it the VP of marketing? Is it this managing editor? How do you the VP of marketing, I think it can't be sustainable for long. So how have you seen that work?
This is a great question, and we see it all the time when we work with customers. It's, okay, we're ready to be a publisher, content marketing, here we come, March. But then the logistics around approvals and who's in charge really handicaps them. And you know, as a publisher, having been in the actual media world of it, you need to be agile, you need to be fast, and if you're just hung up on all this approval processes, you're not going to succeed. I'd have to tell you, there is no sure one way of doing it. You know, we have customers in the financial services world. Everything they publish has to go through legal. And there's no way around it because it's a regulated industry. Same thing with healthcare. Other places can be a lot more nimble. But the larger point is you can't take this for granted. You have to define that hierarchy and chain of command and what your processes are going to be. And Talia is nodding because she faces this every day in what she does. And what your process is going to be to get content out the door. And it might be different. A tweet is going to be different than a video. It's going to be different than a blog post, which is going to be different than an ebook. But for each one of those, you need to be very deliberate about this, particularly if you're in larger organizations, which most of you are. What is our process? Who puts the ideas in? Who puts it on the calendar? Who gives this level of approval? Who gives that level of approval? Who actually hits the button to do publish? Again, it depends on your industry and the regulatory framework and whatnot. That's going to be different from everyone. But the larger point, and I'm glad you raised it, is if you don't define this process, and I will say if you don't have a fantastic software tool to manage the process, but we'll get. But if you don't define this process, you are never going to succeed because you're just going to be tripped up in all these logistics, and we've seen that quite often.